Hello and welcome to the Stroke It podcast. I'm Alday Townsend, your host. I am so excited to have my guest today. I hope you have some energy. If not, we are going to be boosting that energy today. I'm so excited for Mariela to share how you can overcome challenges. We're going to be talking about prenups. She's a paralegal. We're going to be talking about discovery, desired purpose, talking numbers. So we're going to be navigating how important it is to talk about numbers and business before you get involved with a partner, and wait until you hear her dirty little secret. Mariela, thank you for joining me. I'm super excited for you to share with our listeners all of your knowledge and your passion.
Thanks for the invite. I was excited when I got the call and I'm like, yes, let's go. Definitely podcast. Definitely love how it's going.
That's awesome. Perfect. Okay, so before we get started, we talk about stroking it. Give the listeners a little bit more insight to who you are, where you're residing. That way that we can connect with you and know where you're coming from when you're sharing all this great information.
I'm a Puerto Rican from New York. My name is Mariela. I am located in Tampa Bay, Florida. I've been residing here for about 7 years, living life, learning myself, single, no children at 38 years old.
You go, girl. You got more money than most 38-year-olds because you don't have children, I'm sure. And you can do all the traveling that I know you were just sharing with me. So that's awesome. So, okay, perfect. So we also met through Octoria. And Octoria was a podcast guest a couple weeks ago, and she has a publishing company. So Mariela was just sharing with me that she is in the process of launching a book. She's at the very beginning stages of discovery. So if you didn't listen to Octoria's podcast, definitely go listen to that. She's got a writing challenge. So everybody has a story to tell, and we're going to learn a little bit more about your story as you share with us today. So before we get to stroking it, I want to talk about the love languages. I think they're super important, and in order for people to feel loved and appreciated, you need to know their love language so that you can cater to that. And I think it's important to communicate your love language with others too. So your love language is acts of service. So can you tell us a little bit what that means to you?
Acts of service make my life easier. As I love to be superwoman and do everything, sometimes I want to get my cape down, and there's nothing that shows love that you notice that I'm doing something like, hey, can I help you? Or hey, how about you do it this because your life's easier? Or educate me, make me feel good, make me feel working smarter, not harder, and definitely just paying attention to my day-to-day life and just trying to make it easier. That is totally the way to get me.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's important for people to take note of the hard work or the challenges that you may be dealing with. What can I take off your plate? How can I help you? Which is a really simple question that a lot of people shy away from. What's been your experience with the love languages?
It's with acts of service, especially someone that comes from doing everything because they don't want to bother nobody. They feel like asking somebody for a favor that's bothering them because you're taking away from them. That is not true, and nobody should think that. Yes, be mindful on what's on their plate or what's doing that, but if a person really do want to help you, they will make the time to help you. If they can't, somebody else will. That's the way that makes you feel good.
Yes, touche. Awesome. Okay, perfect. So let's get right into stroking. Today we're going to be talking about yourself, friends, and a partner, which I think are all really great topics. So if you're tuning in today, this is going to be a great podcast for personal development, growth, and looking within and reflecting. And basically, I think just having some great insight on how to make all those relationships better, starting with yourself. So let's talk about the importance of stroking yourself and what that means to you.
Stroking yourself means you have to be your own cheerleader first. You have to be your own hero. There is nobody coming out to save you first. There is nobody coming out to invest in you if you're not investing in yourself first. You are not Superwoman, but you could be Batwoman, and Batwoman comes with a past that they overcome the challenges and be able to be the best version of yourself. So making sure that if you're not sitting somewhere where you're learning, find other chairs, find multiple chairs, find multiple rooms. You are not dedicated or assigned or contract to just one room for the rest of your life. You can't thrive in the same place twice.
Right. So when you say that, I'm like, yes, totally. It's all about putting yourself in those rooms and putting yourself there. But talk to me about confidence. Talk to me about getting the guts to go where maybe you don't feel like you can be or should be or could be because of maybe your skill set. Maybe you've never done that before. Maybe you don't know anyone. Can you kind of guide us to give us the confidence to go and get in those rooms for ourselves?
You need to know that people that are doing better than you will not judge you. They're busy looking in the sky trying to be better. So they appreciate or they love that you're going there like, hey, I don't know anything that you're doing, but I would love to learn. I would love to learn your ways. You are something that it inspired to be. And you have to know that if they can do it, so can I. If you go to speaker engagements, looking at their backstory, like for instance, my favorite speaker is Steve Harvey. He was homeless in his car in the 80s. He didn't have the internet. He didn't have a cell phone. He didn't have Indeed to look for a job. He didn't have LinkedIn to do for a job. But he managed to stay homeless and afloat for 2 years. And look where he is now. So, and he was almost 40. He was almost 30, and look where he's at now. So who am I to say I can't do it if there was people in worse situations than I am and they're thriving right now?
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, let's talk about overcoming challenges, because I know this is dear to your heart, and I know that you have a lot to speak about. This is what possibly your book is going to be about as well. But walk us through the challenge maybe you've been through and how you saw light at the end of the tunnel, and how did you find the fight? How are you overcoming it? Encourage us.
Well, let's start in December 2012, where I sat in my doctor's office and was prescribed my 25th medication, and I was almost at 500 pounds. I was 28. The doctor told me, if you don't do something, you're not going to live past 32. Absolutely not. You're not going to. You are as healthy as a 90-year-old. And I was barely walking. I had hurt my ankles. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't even walk 2 steps without breathing like a walrus. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to research it because I don't have that kind of money. And then something's going to happen because a flower doesn't grow overnight and water is the first start.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. So you opted to do more of a holistic approach than taking prescriptions. So you took ownership of your life, ownership of your healthcare, and ownership of your day-to-day operations to basically get you to lose nearly 200 pounds in a year. You're now 38, you're thriving, you have a story to tell, you're assisting people. So what was it that you said to yourself every morning that made you find that inside drive to get up and do what you needed to do to lose that weight and to fight for your life?
It was patience, because it was 2012. I didn't lose or hit my 200 mark until 2018. So Waking up every day, I'm like, you know what? Flowers don't grow overnight. I have to seek knowledge. I have to go out there. They're out there for a reason, and it's for me to learn. And I will learn on the way up there. This is not a rush. Weight loss is not supposed to race. You're not supposed to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. You lose to eat to be better, because food is an investment. It's like, are you going to put horrible gas in a Rolls Royce? No, you're going to invest in the better quality, and you're going to do it every day, and you're going to take care of your body just as if it's a Rolls Royce, and eventually it's going to look good as a Rolls Royce. But also loving yourself, because tomorrow is not promised, and every day is another 24 hours that you have a chance to invest yourself in a more positive way.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I will say that developing healthy eating habits is key, and researching the foods as well. So when I was going through a debacle, I ended up with shingles, and then after that I had post myalgia, where I have nerve pain. And they kept wanting to prescribe me prescriptions, which had tons of other side effects. And I was like, no. So I looked at the bottle of the prescription and I said, okay, let me look that up and see who else they prescribe it to. Turns out it's to people that have seizures. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then it had all these other things. And I was like, okay, what do they prescribe to these people? They're prescribing the keto diet. So I started doing keto, and yeah, great. I got to lose a little bit of weight, but it was really about nerve pain management. And so reducing the carbs and reducing the sugar, reduce the inflammation. And I did that over a year ago, and I don't have nerve pain anymore. And I literally had nerve pain almost every single day, where I couldn't get out of bed, couldn't open my eyes. It was so painful. And it was basically preventing me from playing tennis and doing life. And so I do think that's really, really important to look at the medications or find an ulterior way. And a lot of it does come down to diet. And if you can lose weight, that's great. But at the end of the day, it's about fueling your body. And you're right. Food is an investment. It's unfortunate that organic food and the cleaner food is more expensive, when you would think, oh, can't they just make it clean? But I think that's really, really important. And then obviously hydration and water. Looking at the water quality is super, super important too. So when you think of like the challenges and overcoming, I'm sure that maybe there was comparison to other people, or were you not comparing yourself to other people when you were on this journey of weight loss or overcoming like the challenges?
I had to eventually put some tunnel vision and surround myself with people that don't remind me of my age, don't remind me how much I have to lose, and don't remind me, or don't throw the stereotype, oh, you're running your biological clock is ticking, or you don't want to die alone, right? And you're like literally not even 30 yet. I had to literally just tune those people out and place myself in better rooms that don't have those conversations. Time has no refunds, but the more time I'm investing in myself to be better later. And there's ways to be able to learn to invest in yourself. I'm a true believer, your life is a narrative, and you are the main actress, and you are adapting to the challenges as if it was a movie. So making sure you always surround yourself and just like tune that out. Don't let anybody rush you with their timelines.
Right, which is kind of hard. I mean, society, and as women, there is a lot of pressure for us to get married, have children, and create and live this life that somebody else is demanding of us, when in actuality, that may not be what you want. I just did a podcast on this a couple of weeks ago, where it's like, if you don't want to have children, say no. It's your life. If you do not want to cater to children and not be your entire life, say no. You do not have to have children. Nobody else is going to take care of those children. It's going to be you. Your life is going to be dedicated to their life. And yes, you may be married and you may have a spouse, or you may have someone helping you. But then again, that person could leave and you could be a part-time parent or a full-time parent. So it is challenging, I think, as a female, when people are saying about your biological clock. So that's great that you were able to like tunnel vision and just eliminate those people, which probably was hard for you. Were some of them like close family or friends?
Oh yeah, definitely. There was times I was just crying out of frustration. I'm like, why aren't they listening to me? And I'm like, and I had to boundaries are not just for strangers, boundaries are for family too. So it's like, to be like, okay, I have already told you 3 times, I do not want to talk about this, respect my wishes, or we're just kind of have to minimize our communication until you can respect my wishes. There's nobody disrespecting you. You just have to, it is what it is now, and you're either in it or you're out.
Yeah, true story right there. Yes. Okay, awesome. So are there any tips, or do you have like a daily thing that you do to keep your positivity, to keep you moving forward, that you could share with our audience that may be something that they can implement in their life when it comes to stroking themselves?
I have a note, a list that I have attached to my best friend, that I put my accomplishments that I feel as an accomplishment, that I feel, because everybody has different accomplishments. Like As I lost 5 pounds in a month, I was able to buy clothes in another store. I was able to walk longer. I was able to work my first full-time job because I had if you follow my Instagram and my Facebook, I had a disability for 20 years, and then in 2016 it was deemed misdiagnosed, and finding out or thinking out that was an accomplishment. I went out my comfort zone, found a new doctor, and they found me something I never thought I was going to find before. So listing your accomplishments. Before and after pictures are not just physical, it's also a mindset that you changed as well. So making sure when you look at your before and after pictures, because my before and after pictures are like a 10-year span, remember how you were thinking, remember how you were living on a day-to-day life that day, and compare it to what you have now. You are not that same person 10 years ago. You're not the same person even 6 months ago. You've done the daily investments and you did it yourself. You kept perseverance, you kept discernment, and you made sure that you consistently are learning, because it doesn't take money to wake up and invest in yourself. It starts with a bottle of water.
Yeah, that's super powerful. And you're right, it does. Start drinking water. I put lemon in my water in the morning too. I don't know if you do that, but that's got a lot of health benefits as well. So I won't do any claims on the podcast. So, okay, perfect. Well, thank you for sharing all that. I really loved everything that you were saying. Let's talk about friends and how they can become family, and how important friendships are to you, and how you build them, how you keep them, how you encourage your friends, how your friends encourage you. So let's talk about that a little bit.
It has changed over the years. I have friends are not only them being there for them, but also being aware of their surrounding as well, and making sure that you're okay, that you have friends that you're not talking every day, or you're not talking 2 to 3 of you haven't seen them 2 to 3 months. Because at the end of the day, we are adults and we are all trying to build our own lives and focus on our own homes and be able to be our best selves. So making sure they're thriving, making sure you're thriving, I have a friend I only see once a year, and we just talk about everything we're working on and what we're doing for the next move. And if they're referring you out to people, making sure you maintain integrity, making sure that you're not burning their bridge based on the connection they gave you. Listening and making sure you're asking about them and you're not throwing everything about you and your situations. Because when you I end up in a tunnel vision, and there was a point that my friend was like, hey, there's sometimes I want to talk. And I'm like, oh, she called me all the way out. And then I started being mindful of how I approach things and making sure I asked them about their day. And I'm like, I did not know I got to that point, because I had so much I had to build from that I was like, oh my God, I'm selfish. And that was like, wow, making sure you don't forget them either on your way up.
Yeah, a conversation between two people. And sometimes we get in the rut of only talking or only listening. So finding that balance is key. But at the same time too, when you're like super passionate and you've got all these great things going on, you want to share those with the people that are super, super important. But you just have to remember the high points and allow them to ask you questions, or allow them to kind of dive into your world a little bit more, versus just having diarrhea of the mouth where it's like, there's times where I stop answering the phone because I have friends like that. Or there's times where actually I had some friends tell me, stop talking, or they just eliminated me from their lives because all I did was talk about myself too. So it is super important, and it's something some of us learn a little bit later. So if you are listening right now and maybe you are similar to us, where you have lots of things going on in your life, you have lots of things to share, do remember that there is somebody else on the other side of that conversation that maybe has something going on that they want to say, or they could be looking for advice, or they could just be looking for you just to listen. And that's another thing too. I don't know if you had challenges where I feel like I should always just give everybody my advice. I'm like, you can do this and maybe try this. And nope,
That's
I just need to listen today. So I thought that was really, really important. So when you are talking about, the friendships, and I want you to kind of dive into the desired purpose a little bit when it comes to friendship.
that they respect my goals and I respect theirs, even if it's different. There are people that have different goals in life, and when you're going in life, sometimes your goals change or your purpose changes, and it's being respectful. And if it's a friend that, you know what, I don't like that you're pursuing. I had somebody, because I've accomplished so much, that I went from totally disabled, not being able to work, to now pursuing other things like writing a book, being a public speaker, doing these. That was like, well, you don't have to do anymore. You've accomplished enough. You were disabled and now you're not. You have a good job. Just be happy you have a job, because there's people that don't have one. If you don't like the end conversation, or if your friends are just not agreeing because they're feeling probably left behind, or they're just not there with you, they're not vibing with you anymore, it's okay to separate. It's okay. I'm like, okay, I respect your opinion, I love you, and then you just slowly but surely start leaving that table. Because it does happen that you discover new things and your purpose changes, and not everybody's going to agree that you change your purpose or your main focus.
Yeah, or your life is changing. I mean, you've been directed now into this direction, or maybe you're taking a detour over here. You don't have to leave that table or that seat forever. It's just while you're in this season, and while they're in their own season, maybe it's just you're not dining at the same restaurant right now. Maybe it's like in the future you can meet back up. And that is hard, because it is hard to let go of your friends and the friends that you've had for a really, really long time, or even family members. But at the end of the day, like, being aligned with the people that have the same goals, the same passions, or just like they want to continue moving forward and not live in the past, or they don't want to be held back by their obstacles or their challenges and they're wanting to overcome it. Being with the people with the same mindset is beneficial to your mindset and to your well-being and to your health. So yeah. I'm with you. I totally agree with what you're saying. So if that's you, get out of that seat, leave that table, go find a new one to sit at, because there's people just like you. And that's one of the reasons why I joined an organization called No Women. And that's how I met Victoria and a few of the other women that have been on the podcast. And I was finding myself where I was like, I need to align with women that are doing more than me, or that understand the struggles of work-life balance, trying to, be better, but then need to maintain my marriage. And then it was like, I was outgrowing some of my friends too. And it's not like they weren't happy for me. It's just like, I can't have the same conversation. They want to talk about kids. They want to talk about their kids. And I'm like, I don't have children. I'm talking about business. So find the people that are wanting to have the same conversation as you, and they're out there.
Yeah, or they're looking for solutions and not continuously complaining. I'm like, okay, I could only listen for so long. With my parents, you have one time to say your problem, and you better have 50 million solutions following that. And like, as I want to be a listening ear, I don't want to hear the same thing next week. I don't want to hear the same thing the following week. And it's not being mean. It's like, hey, if you're that unhappy, move. You're not a tree.
Right. I'm 100% with you on that. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the other stakeholder, which you selected, which is spouse. And you said you weren't married, but you do have some great insight when it comes to picking a spouse and considering business partnerships. And this is coming from the paralegal side of you, right?
This is coming from the paralegal side of me, but also just the personal. So a little bit of both, but more like legalities. A lot of people, when they're looking for their spouse, they lead with feelings alone. And yes, you want a good guy, you want a providing guy, but do they provide the way you do? Do they purchase the way you do? Do they function in a way that benefits everyone in the house or the potential house you're trying to go? And a lot of people, they leave with feelings and they get into this marriage because they're so nice, and then they find out this person's true colors. Well, I don't like the way he spends money. Well, I don't like the fact that he's not adventurous. I don't like this. I don't like that. If he loves me, he'll change. No, you should have accepted him before you said I do. These conversations should have been said before you got into any serious. People are so afraid to make somebody angry, but people's true colors come out when they're angry. You're not supposed to be afraid of your spouse if they're angry. You're supposed to be excited. Like, yeah, look at that passion. Anger is not bad. Anger is a passion, motivation to make change. And a lot of people fear that. And the one thing that ends a lot of marriages is finances. And it's not because somebody doesn't want to make money. Everybody wants to make money. Nobody wants to spend the same. The spending is not a great.
Yes.
And then the family jumps in and tries to change the spending as well. Oh, he doesn't like to spend like that. I'm like, not your house. Not your monkey, not your circus.
Yeah, true. They out of their marriage. Yeah, my parents divorced, and a lot of it was financial. And that's because they grew up in different homes where my mom's parents were, my mom's dad was a CFO, so he was very financially analytical. He never wanted to overspend. He always wanted to make sure he saved money. My dad grew up very poor, so when he started making tons of money, he just spent it. He wanted to provide for us because he didn't have a lot growing up. And he wanted to have the finer things in life because he grew up really poor. I mean, he grew up in a 10 by 10 with a family of 7. And so when you think about the variables of the parenting, same thing with my husband and I. He grew up, his parents had the same jobs for 35 years. They saved all their money. They retired at 65, and now they just do whatever the hell they want. My parents, they worked, they bought, they spent money, and they're still working, which they're a little bit, they're like 20 years younger. But so when my husband and I got married, you had 2 totally different people trying to manage the same pot of money, completely different. And we don't have children, and we have our own money, so there's not a lot to fight about. But I can't imagine, putting a family into the mix, or living off of one income, or, having 2 different people trying to manage one pot of money that only one person is bringing in. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
It's having discussions on how you want your child's life to live. What do you want their end result to be? How many vacations you want during the year? What kind of investments you want to do on a day-to-day basis? Do you want to, and where do you want to shop? There's people that won't shop in certain stores. What is the threshold? Like, what money amount can I spend without discussing with you? What kind of schools do you want your kids in? If the kid has a challenge, like let's say they want a math tutor, let's say you want your child to learn a language early. Let's say you want your child to learn Arabic, and you want them to learn it at 2. That's going to cost money. So these so-called little conversations, that eliminates the issues of spending money, because you'll be looking at actual money running right now. They're like, okay, we'll probably have kids in 5 to 6 years. How much is it going to cost then? Let's say we add $25 to each hour for each item. What kind of private school you want that child to go to? How often do you want to buy them clothes? What kind of standards do you want to teach your children love language? There's parents that are absolutely against spoiling their girls. I'm for spoiling their girls because I want them to have a standard to leave my home. So these conversations, these scenarios that can or cannot come up never get discussed. They'll be like, oh, I love him. But like, wait a minute, I can't buy that lotion that's $15. I'm like, because he's happy with the $2. He sees lotion as lotion. You see lotion as an investment. So of course he's going to tell you no, because men are better with boundaries. Men are very better with boundaries.
For sure. They don't get so emotionally involved. Women are more emotionally involved with a purchase or with the schooling of their children and things like that. So do you have a worksheet, or do you have like a workbook, or do you have something where there's like a questionnaire or maybe there's like a resource you can send us to, where we should be asking these questions when considering a partner or before we say yes to the engagement?
There are apps. There are apps that are designed to build couples, that you answer the question and then the person you're dating also signed into the same app and they send them the question and then you compare answers. There's apps on that. 100 Questions to Ask Before You're Married is an amazing book. There's questions in Steve Harvey's book that's really good. Why are you asking a man why are you asking the man his favorite color when you need to ask him how he spends his money? So those are definitely exactly. I'm like, what does his favorite color have to do how to raise your kids?
Right. So it's about the conversations that you're having and the questions that you're asking so that you can better assess if that's the right partner for you in the future, or maybe they're just a better friend not doing life with when you're talking about marriage and family and home buying and going into debt, or, having some large expenses to purchase in the future.
But have fun with it. Some women, they either literally go into a bull in every single date. Listen here, I'm not doing this and I'm not accepting this and I'm not accepting this. I'm not going to date you either. Look how you're coming at me. Imagine when you're my wife. What?
Well, they're not wasting any time, which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, but you're also coming like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like you have to, it's like it has to be a natural conversation. It has to be a natural conversation, and immediately if it's important. Like, just like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of purchasing this for myself. What do you think? And that will usually answer certain questions. Or, you know what? I can't wait till I'm fluent in Arabic, and I'm gonna have kids and they're gonna be fluent. You're gonna see how their love language. Or, you know what? My kid is gonna be a sport junkie. I'm gonna buy the best of the best sports equipment there is. They'll usually put their 2 cents in immediately. So just asking scenarios instead of it's an interview, but it also has to be a warm interview, a welcoming interview, somebody who wants to answer it.
Well, and I'm assuming there's compromise as well. Like, all relationships require compromise. So it's like, no, we can't do this, but we can do that. Or, we can't, let's think of something that's going to be more long term. Like, it's probably better to spend money on a better appliance than to spend more money on like the paint that you're putting on the walls of the house, because your appliances are actually going to feed you and fuel you. And those are super, super expensive as well. And you don't want to change those out. Like, you can't maybe color on the walls, so maybe a lower grade paint, things like that. So I think compromise is huge too. And I think just with spending, like my husband, he's super frugal, doesn't like to spend. And like, I want a new car like every week. And he's like, don't let society mindfuck you. You don't need a new car. Your car is fine. I was like, yeah, but I want a new car. But why? And you're going to be happy with the new car for a couple months, and then what? You've got this car payment that you don't have now. So I think too, having those conversations and just knowing that at the end of the day, you may not always agree with the financial advice that your spouse is telling you, but it is serving your family long term. And I think that I'm grateful now that I didn't buy a new car, because at the same time we may be buying a house and we can use the money that's not going to a car payment for upgrades and things like that. So thinking more long term when it comes to purchases, I think, can also be helpful to your marriage.
Yeah. Living the lifestyle you desire, or trying to live the lifestyle. People's like, oh, men don't care about your job. Men don't care about. Yes, they do. They do. Yeah. They care about because if you're coming from a place that doesn't have any money, but you're trying to date a man that's successful, you have to show that you appreciate the investment that you desire. Because there's one that they buy it just to show it, and they're one like, you know what? I'm gonna purchase a Coach bag because it has a nice warranty, versus buying a bag every week at Walmart.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So let's talk about prenups. I know no one else wants to talk about prenups, but I'm interested in you educating our audience on prenups and the importance of them and how to consider those when entering a relationship.
Prenuptial agreement is not only to protect the couple, but it's also to protect the family members as well. Like, let's say you have a family business, or you're marrying into a family business. When there's no prenup established in the state of Florida, you are entitled automatically for 25% of whatever revenue comes out of that business without fault, especially if you prove that your spouse is financially responsible for you, that all the payments are coming from his account, that all the revenue is coming from his account. That's why financial statements are disclosed or are presented, so they know where the money's coming from where. Those prenuptial agreements, like, hey, as we don't want to get divorced, we need to make sure the family's money's not touched, the family's assets that are not touched, the if you have an Airbnb, that's not touched, because literally we don't know where our state of mind when our forever is ending. We're gonna try and get our money for the time that we wasted. That's we're looking at it. Then we're looking at it. There's people that will go for assets. Like, let's say we have somebody that a daughter bought a home for their parents. The daughter is a breadwinner. The daughter's making $200K. The husband's only making $3K. She decided, you know what, it's not working out. The husband is entitled to get the 25% any way he wants. He can go after the parents' house.
Are you serious?
After the parents' house, he can go after the parents' house. If you have the correct lawyer and they know what they're doing, and the house is completely under the spouse's name, and the spouse is completely investing in it, and the parents are not paying anything for it, he is entitled to try and get that money from because the house is just an asset. It is just an asset. There's no feelings involved in law. So when you don't have a prenup, you're putting everybody in danger. Everybody will get hurt.
So are you saying that most marriages should have a prenup, whether you have a family business or not? Like, because you just never know who's going to end up doing what. But do you encourage everyone to have a
I haven't
prenup?
heard anybody need it, because people's like, oh, I'm not rich. Why do I need a prenup? It doesn't matter if you're rich. You just have to make more money than your spouse. You have to make more money than your spouse. So when you have don't have a prenup, and you went from, like, let's say I'm making $11,000 this year, but then I end the marriage making $200,000, and your spouse stays the same. If you don't have any assets, if you don't have any children, but you have accumulated debt, he can make you pay off that debt, or he can make you pay alimony, even if it's $500 a month for 10 years.
Yeah. I have girlfriends who are going through that right now.
Yeah, people's like, oh, well, I'm not the man. I'm like, it don't matter. It's, you are damn if you do, if you damn if you don't. You make money, good. But also when you're divorced, damn.
So I think this is really valuable information. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, most of us do need prenups. And most women are working now, and they're starting their own businesses. And there's so many opportunities for women to make money these days. And they can launch coaching, they can do consulting, where they can actually make a substantial amount of money, probably more than their husband, some of that, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk to those that are already married. Postnuptial, how does that work? Is it possible? What's the cost?
Postnuptial is only invited if there's a substantial change, like a crazy change. For instance, children. You made, like, let's say you, in the beginning when you wrote your first prenup, oh, I'm not having kids. Oop, here comes twins 5 years later. Doing the prenup, oh, comes in, like, you know what? I'm not having twins over there. And then you hear that first heartbeat, like, damn it, I'm keeping them. and damn it, I'm keeping them. So, okay, we got 2 little bundles, 2 little heirs, 2 little prince or princesses. They're gonna take care of the family business. How we're gonna take care of them if something was to separate?
Yeah.
So the postnup is to service any additions that literally substantial. And it's based on current income right now. So if you have certain plans and you have documents of certain plans and you have a suspect of income that it's gonna make, you want to be like, just in case we get there, we're not going to touch that, we're not going to touch this, or we're going to sell this and separate this.
Yeah.
So there's no confusing postnups, because if you're 20 years and you're on the same postnup and you went from making like $5,000 a year to $1 million, it's literally, the postnup is unfair for both parties. It doesn't current time. it doesn't serve the current, with everything rising in price. The original amount that's set to give to the wife or the husband, if there was a separated, it's not affordable living anymore.
No, it's not. I mean, my husband and I, we're dinks, double income, no kids, and we're trying to navigate buying a house right now and like the cost of a mortgage. I'm like, I don't want to be mortgage poor. Like, and I can't imagine being single and doing life right now with the cost of everything. So
It's hard, and it's like sometimes it's like right now I'm looking into purchasing a home. I want a big home, but I'm looking into paying less than what I am paying now for rent, because I'm trying to travel. I'm trying to live my life. I'm not trying to be, oh, I can't because I have to pay the mortgage. Nah.
yeah, I don't want to be in debt to my mortgage either.
Owning a home is supposed to be a wonderful moment, not a detrimental purchase.
Yeah, totally. So awesome. Well, I think that's all really great insight. I know that I know a lot of women, and like I said, a lot of them are rocking their businesses. And I was at a retreat like a month ago, and these women are making enough money for their husbands to quit their jobs. And I was like, oh my God, but if you get divorced, you're going to be paying him alimony plus child support. And one of my girlfriends actually had to buy her husband out of the business that she started.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I want to ask if we have questions, because I'm sure we've got a lot of people thinking, oh my gosh, am I protected? Is my family protected? Are our assets protected? How can people connect with you? Because I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions, and you got the 411 on this. So tell us how we connect with you.
You can connect me through LinkedIn under Mariela Ayala. You could connect me on Instagram. On Instagram, I have a prompt for an email, ask Mari with the 411. I have Facebook, the same thing, ask Mari with the 411. And I also have Twitter. You could, if you shoot me a message, I'll shoot you my email, ask Mari with the 411.
Awesome. And we'll have all of this in the show notes for people to connect with you as well. Perfect. So can you tell us, before we wrap this up, if you could give our listeners any advice, what is your dirty little secret or your best stroking tactic?
You need to be your own cheerleader. You need to look in the mirror no matter what size you are, no matter what weight you are. You know what? I'm an incredible badass. I'm worth every investment. And if nobody likes the investments I do in me, then their season has ended, and I will find new people that will enlighten the fire I have within. Life is an adventure. I love adventure. Wanderlust is my thing. And you need to live a life that when you have grandchildren or great grandnieces and nephews, they'll look at you like, Titi, or Grandma, you did that? Absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to show you how to do it.
I love that. I think it's so encouraging, and I know a lot of people need to hear that. You know, a lot of times we make money, but we want to save the money, or we don't want to travel, or we're afraid to travel. But you can experience so much by traveling, and it's clarity, it's peace. There's a lot of different cultures, and I think you find gratitude with traveling because you see how other people live, and you're like, you know what, my life really isn't that bad. I actually am grateful. And then you miss some of your friends and family. You come back, you're like, I missed you, and you treasure that time. You make more time for them to be part of your life too. So I love that you're all about the adventure and traveling, and I think it's amazing. I'm all with it too. I don't want to be mortgage debt, be only paying a mortgage and not be able to travel. I'm with you.
Yeah, like I'm literally trying to strengthen my foundation. I'm preparing to go for traveling the first time. This is something I made sure that I took every single obstacle. I'm out of debt. Now we're going to get into something to live cheaper, making sure emergency fund is for my house just in case something was to happen. And I am out.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you all for listening with us today. I did do a podcast a few weeks ago called Book the Trip, and it's how my husband and I went and took an elevated trip to Italy for 14 days. When I say elevated, it was elevated. It was a once in a lifetime experience. Well, I say once in a lifetime experience, but we're going to do it again. And we did that because we cut a lot of expenses. We didn't buy the new vehicles. We spent years saving. We developed a plan. So if you do want to take the trip that we're talking about, check out that podcast, Book the Trip. And thank you again for joining me. You were amazing, and I'm so excited that I got to spend this morning with you. And for our listeners, if you loved what you heard, definitely give us a review, or maybe consider 3 people you can send this podcast today to. We will talk to you soon, and have a great day.